Okay, welcome to another episode. Today we'll be diving deep into one of the important relationships, or rather, whatever that is going on between South Africa and Israel. So we'll be diving deep into that topic between these two countries and what is the current state of their relationship and what are the causes of all of that and what are the causes of South Africa reporting the Israelites to the ICC and what are the demands that South Africans are making towards the Israel, and we'll be checking the relationship between these two countries and what happened. Okay, guys, of course I will not talk about Israel and not talk about Christianity and not talk about the Jewish people, because the Jewish people are the dwellers of the nation of Israel, and that is of course where Jesus Christ come from, him born as a Jew. So, and of course that takes us to South Africa and its relationship with Israel, and also we'll dive deep and also try to check how this has landed to this type of a state whereby South Africa end up reporting the Israelites to the ICC, which is the International Criminal Court, where if there is any nation that is abusing other nation or that is or overstepping the rights of other people and abusing that, it should be reported according to the United Nations Charter. Okay, guys, where do I start with this one? Of course, I'm gonna start with what Israel is doing to the Palestinians right there in Gaza. Now, if we check what we call October 7, this is when a militia group by the name of Hamas went into Israel and abducted, or rather, um, they've taken the children of the Israelites, their citizens, their children, men and women, and went into Gaza and hid them there and started to make certain demands to the Israelites by keeping those hostages. And that is where it takes us as South Africans. And South Africa went to the ICC to demand that Israel is violating the rights of the people of Gaza, because with in that happening, it resulted in the abuse of the civilians or the innocent civilians of the people of Gaza. Of course, in Israel, the Hamas militia has abducted people and taken them into the Gaza Strip or the Gaza city right there in Israel. They just share a border, and this is just the camp of refugee, or that is the space that the Israelites have given to the these people or the Palestinians to dwell there with their families. And now this brings us back to South Africa and its relationship with the people of Israel, or rather with the nation of Israel. That's where it all began, that South Africa ended up reporting the Israelites at the ICC, the International Criminal Court. Of course, I said that you cannot talk about Israel and not talk about Christianity. And also, this takes us back to South Africa. Um, Number one, let us check the relationship between Israel and South Africa. Now, when you check history, it is showing you something that is totally different from what is being discussed right now. There is a gentleman that is called Hesberg. This gentleman has been in Germany, rather, he has been staying with his family in Germany. But basically, originally, this family of Hesberg, they are from Israel, or rather, they were relocated by what was going on in Israel. That it ended up that most of the Israelites ended up in Germany. Now, this gentleman Hesberg, when you start to read his history, you start to understand that he is one of the Jewish immigrants who moved from Germany. Of course, if I'm talking about Germany, you start to understand that I'm going to talk about World War II. And when I'm talking about World War II, I cannot talk about World War II and not talk about a gentleman called Adolf Hitler. This is one of the evil men recorded in the history. Now, what makes Adolf Hitler so evil? This is the reason why, because he collected all the Jewish people right there in Germany out of a jealousy, because they were succeeding financially and in other ways. And concentrated them in what we call the concentration camp, and also he put them in one of the structures there, and now he gassed most of them, and then they died, and then he will took their bodies and burn it, and also he will throw their ashes into a hollow, or that's why it is called a holocaust. Now, a holocaust, they're referring to the pit that Adolf Hitler digged to throw the ashes of the people of Israel. And of course, because of this, most of the Israelites, or the Israelites people, the Jewish people, started to flee to other countries. This is where it all comes to South Africa. Now, amongst all the countries that they've been flying to, one of the Jewish people, they flew to South Africa. This man, Hesberg, that's where he comes in. Now, Hesberg has been one of the men that has been shipping the people of Israel, rather the Jewish people, him being a Jew himself. He took a ship and then he headed to South Africa as an immigrant running away from Germany, running from the war of Hitler right there in Germany, a man that was destroying most of the Jewish people right there in Germany. Now, this man Hesberg, that's why it takes us to South Africa, because Hesberg, when you start to read history, you start to realize that he was steering the ship, and when you get right there I mean at Cape Town, that's when he was joking to one of the immigrants in the boat, and he said, "You see, the people of South Africa are chanting and they are welcoming us. This is the sign of welcome." And when you start to understand those words of Hesberg, him being a Jew, South Africa has opened its arms. It has opened its arms for the Jewish migrant to stay in South Africa, running away from the war of Hitler. Now, South Africa has been too kind to the Jewish people and opened up its country. And when I start to check, it was about 6,000 Jews who splitted all over Africa, and most of them came into South Africa to hide from this Hitler guy that was killing their people. Now, you cannot come today and say South Africa hate Israel. Why? Because South Africa has been one of the important allies of Israel, rather. They've been one of the important countries that has made sure that the Israelites people fleeing from Yemen have hid and found safety here in South Africa. Now, the relationship between Israel and South Africa right now, it might not be a desirable one, but if you start to check and you start to understand the role that South Africa has played in the global context, you'll start to understand that South Africa has been one of the most important countries that has opened its arms for the Jewish people or the Israelite people. And then when I went to Cape Town, I went to the what we call the Holocaust Museum. This is a museum where most of the people that were killed in Germany were listed. South Africa has got one of the most important museums about the Jewish people right there in Cape Town, just next to the Parliament of South Africa. There, we know the legislature, Parliament, right there in Cape Town. Now, when you start to check in that Holocaust museum, you start to realize the history that or the people of of Israel, or the Jewish nation. The people that has died in Germany, and now their pictures are listed there. When I entered that museum, then I started to realize a lot, and I started to learn a lot between these two countries, and I started to understand that the role that South Africa has played right in those times when Israel needed South Africa. There was a time where the Jewish people needed South Africa, and South Africa never folded its arms. It opened its arms for the Jewish people to come and hide here as immigrant people. And now today we have many Jewish people in the country because we opened up the doors for them when they were fleeing from Hitler. And when I was busy going and checking and reading, and then this is what happened to me. I started to become too emotional because I started to imagine how Hitler was doing with the Holocaust, what he was doing to the Jewish people. And to one of my surprises is that when I finished checking all of that and checking the years and when it happened and the people and the families that were separated by World War II or by Hitler's war, and checking and everything, and because there were people that died, it was just killing people with a gas, and then now burning them and burning their bodies and throwing it into ditching them into the hole. That's why it's called the Holocaust. Now, if you start to go through whatever that is written there in that museum, you'll start to understand. And as a human being, obviously, you'll start to understand that now, seeing a family separating and seeing people divided, family divided by wars, like the war that happened right there in Germany, where Hitler was destroying the Jewish people and burning them and killing them with gas. You start to understand. One of the things that I realized that he concentrated them in one camp. He took them from all the German provinces and bringing them in one province so that he can select those ones that were strong. And now the weakest were killed and put into the structure of a gas right there in Germany. Now, seeing all of that and reading all of that, you will understand that if it were you in that type of position, you wouldn't be able to bear all of that. And now that's when you start to understand that the human part of you that is inside of you, because no matter who you are or the color of your skin or where you come from, black or white, colored or yellow, whatever it is, Indian or whatever it is, now you start to understand that now there is the part of humanity inside of you. Now, when I was reading all of that in history, I started to realize that what Hitler was doing to the Jewish people, it was evil and it was pure evil, and there is no way that we can stand with whatever that he was doing. Just because he hate them, thinking that they are succeeding financially or other ways, he doesn't have the right to kill anybody, and nobody has that type of right to kill anybody. Me being a South African, I understood that context when I was reading the story of the Jewish and when they were killed by Adolf Hitler. Now this shows you that South Africa opened its arms and its doors for the Jewish people so that they can settle here as immigrants. And now they ended up having what we call not just a refugee status, what America is offering to the Afrikaners. No, today I'm not talking about that part. I want to talk about the Jewish people and their relationship with South Africa. And now most of them, they have citizenship in this country, and now they allowed them to stay here because South Africa belongs to each and every person that stays in this country. Now you cannot come today and now look at what is going on between the relationship of this country and make a judgment that South Africans hate the Israelites or they hate the Jewish people. There is a reason why South Africa is doing what they are doing in the ICC. Now, there is a reason, and one of the reasons I'm going to be tackling them just not long so that you can understand why South Africa is doing what they are doing. And I'm going to also highlight certain things that you don't know about South Africa that are happening here in South Africa that you don't know about us, that you don't know about this country, that you don't know about the people of this country. And now I'm going to show you the goodness and how good are these people of this country and how they were used by God to save the Jewish nation. And now Herzog, when he landed there, he found that now there were people with placards there welcoming the Jewish people and welcoming them and making them to feel at home. That's what South Africans have done to the Jewish nation. And when I was finishing reading all of that that was written uh, right there in the Museum of Cape Town, the Museum of Holocaust against the Jewish people, my tears started to drop slowly. I found myself full of tears. Why? Because I was trying to imagine if it was my family, what could have I done? If it was my family or if it was South African going through that type of experience. Now I started to put myself in their shoes and I started to understand that whatever that was happening to the Jewish people in World War II, done by Adolf Hitler, the most evil man that has ever lived here on earth. According to him, if you check now the list of evil men, you'll find that Adolf Hitler is on top of the list. He's listed there as one of the evil men because of what he has done against the Jewish people. Now, South Africa has played the most important role because South Africa is full of kind people. The people of South Africa are very kind and they are full of love. They're welcoming. If you check, they are very welcoming and they love other races. They love other people and they welcome. Although sometimes they're misunderstood by other cultures, or rather they don't understand what type of people are South Africans. Because if you check, we are the most friendliest country in the world. If you check, our constitution is very welcoming. If you check, it's not full of racism. If you check, we say anyone who dwells in South Africa has the right to dwell here, has the right to stay here. Now, if you check in that museum, my story was, and then my tears started to flow. And now there was a Jewish lady sitting on the reception, and then she was like, okay, what did you learn about that? Then I started to I ran out of words immediately because it was only tears that was flowing from me. And then she was like, yeah, that is what happened to the Jewish people right there in Germany. And I found myself not to have many words because most of my tears were flowing down because I started to understand what they were going through right there in Germany, because it is written there in pure words. It is written there for anyone to understand it and to see it with their eyes, with the pictures of the Jewish people right there. Now, you cannot come today and now accuse South Africans that they are evil people. South Africans are not evil people. South Africans are very welcoming and they are full of kind. They have a good heart. South Africans are people that are full of love. Now, I wanted to show you now the relationship between these two nations and the role that South Africa has played, and now the role that South Africa has played in the history of these two nations. Now, let us come into what is going on right now between Israel and South Africa, and what is it that South Africa wants from Israel. Now, if you look in Israel, you will understand that now Jesus Christ is from Israel, or rather, he was a Jew. He was born in a Jew family of Joseph and Mary. Okay, now let me connect the two for you. There is what we call Zionism, and there is Christianity. There is Judaism, or rather Zionism, and there is Christianity. These are two different things, but that is just a topic for another day. We're going to talk about Zionism and Christianity. And now, I just want to take this wonderful time and then review this relationship between these two countries. Now, South Africa itself having the experience of apartheid under the white Afrikaners. Now, that separated black people from the whites. Now, South Africa is a country that has experienced, or rather, it is the trauma or the pain that it had from this experience of apartheid, where black people were not allowed to go into certain places or to enjoy certain rights during apartheid. Now, you will start to understand that the black community has an experience of what I'm about to talk about. And this is the reason why they are demanding what they are demanding at the ICC concerning the Jewish people or the Israelites. Now, you'll understand where South Africa comes from and what happened to them, because when you have a scar of something, you understand it better than anybody. When you have a scar of a war, the scar of apartheid, you will understand where we come from as a nation, and then you will be able to have understanding of why South African is demanding what they are demanding. And I'm also gonna show you something in all of this. I will need you to be very patient because I will explain this so that you can be able to understand all of this. I have something like about 10 minutes to explain all of this. Now, let us look right there in Middle East what is going on. Now, you are having Hamas, which is a militia group, claiming to defend the people of Gaza, breaching the fence on October the 7th, and then going into Israel and abducting the children of the Israelites or the Jewish people and bringing them into Gaza and using them as a bait. And all of that, according to what they are saying that now the Hamas is just one of the what we call militia influenced by Iran. Iran being the greatest enemy of Israel. Now, Iran being the greatest enemy of Israel, they are using Hamas militia, and they're even giving them what we call the guns and bombs and all of that, or the equipments of military to attack the people of Israel. This is what happened in October 7. They went into Israel and then abducted the children of Israel, men and women and children, and killing many of them. About 1,200 or yes, 1,200 people, and then taking them into the Gaza Strip. And then that is when it all began. It all began like that. And I understand that most of you don't understand what happened on the October 7th. This is what Gaza had, I mean, not Gaza, but the Hamas, which is the militia in Gaza. This is what happened. And now that is what happened. We all know all of that because some of us we do a lot of research to understand what is going on, what is the cause of every crisis or every war or every differences. And now this is what happened when Israel started to respond against Gaza people or the Hamas. Now, what happened is that they started to respond against the Hamas militia that hid itself underground of the Gaza city. This is what happened. Now, Israel, for it to be able to hunt the Hamas soldiers, it needed to go into Gaza Strip and dig all the tunnels that Hamas has dug under the city of Gaza. And now it happened that as where they were busy searching or digging all of the tunnels, they found that Hamas is using the Gaza people as a human shield against Israel. That's what happened. And now Israel, the way they were so angry concerning the killing of their people and the abduction of their children, they moved the people of Gaza from one side to the other, digging deep and destroying and bombing the people of Gaza. And it resulted into the people of Gaza and the children and the women being killed in the process. That's what it went about. And now, when they were busy looking for their people right there in the Gaza Strip, it happened that some of the Hamas soldiers, they were mising us, the people of Gaza. And now they didn't put on the military uniforms that we see, which is black, of course, with the red bandana on their head. Now, what happened is Israel continued to do that and destroying the homes of a lot of Gaza people. And all of that, remember, I told you the South Africans have now the scar of apartheid from the white people. South Africans or black South African community and other nations were not happy as a result of Israel killing the civilians when they were hunting for their children in the Gaza Strip, trying to kill the Hamas soldiers. And now South Africans, they started to chant, or rather to stand against that. And now, since according to the United Nations Charter, anyone that does that, or if there is a war between nations, civilians are not supposed to be harmed. This is why South Africans were so angry, because now the Israelites, or the Jewish people, because of their anger, they were killing the civilians of Gaza, or the Palestinians. Now, if it was you being in the shoe of the Israelites, I think you would have done the same thing, because you're trying to defend your children. And now, in that, it resulted for the Palestinians people being killed, because I believe that the Israelites were angry too. Now, because I need to work out these two positions, not taking any side, because that is important, to find a neutrality between these. If it was you on the side of the Israelites, you will understand. And if it was you also in the side of Gaza, you will understand it, because anyone has the responsibility to protect their people against every harm. Now, Israelite, or Netanyahu, which is the prime minister of Israel, he was feeling irresponsible or useless, because he was unable to protect his children, or the people of Israel, or the Jewish people, from the harm of the Hamas. Of course, Hamas sent by Iran to hurt Israel. They've got their own reasons. I don't know much about that. But what I know is that now Iran is one of the biggest, or number one, enemy of the Israelites, because it is said now that the Palestinians, they don't want to see the nation of Israel right there in the Middle East. Now, let me come back to South Africa. South Africans have been one of the nations that have been standing with solidarity with the people of Gaza. Why? Because they felt like Israelis went too far by killing the civilians of Gaza. This is how South Africa started to differ with Israel. Though they have a very good history, a big history of South Africa playing a role of welcoming the Jewish people. Does that mean that South Africa hate Israel? No. South Africans are just complaining because they feel like Israel has went too far by killing children and hungering the people of Gaza, by trying to whatever that they've been trying to do by hunting Hamas, which were hiding under the tunnels of the city of Gaza. South Africans feel like now Israel is abusing the rights of the people of Gaza. And now this is the position of South Africa. And now that resulted into South Africa Parliament, or the politicians, or the leaders, or rather the party of ANC, which is the African National Congress, going forward into the United Nations, and going into what we call ICC, International Criminal Court, and reporting Netanyahu, which is the prime minister of Israel, because of what he has done. They feel like that now he has abused now the people of Gaza, and he overstepped their rights. And they need to be protected, because he was even stopping trucks that were carrying food from coming into Gaza, because they were trying to pressurize the Hamas militants to return their children or to return their people. This is how now the relationship of Israel and South Africa went about. And right now, this is what is going on. South Africa went to ICC to report Israel. Does that mean that South Africa hate Israel? Or does that mean that God will punish South Africa because of Israel? Let me remind you something that is very important. Now, because of the role that South Africa has played in 1933 by welcoming the Jewish people, that has been South Africa has been too kind to the Jewish people, or rather, we have the Jews in this country. We have different kind of religions in South Africa. We have Christianity, we have Judaism, we have Hinduism, we have different kind of them. But does that mean that South Africa hate Israel? No, South Africa doesn't hate Israel. Rather, they wanted peace for the Palestinian people. They wanted now the Israelites not to kill the civilians of Gaza, or the Palestinians who stay in Gaza. Now, that is what it all went about. Now, I've been listening to different kind of preachers. I listened to one of the prophets from right here in Zimbabwe called Hubert Angel. And now, in one of his prophecies, he was saying, he heard the word Israel, Israel, Israel. And now he said that now that God will punish South Africa because South Africa is reported now that Israel is in the ICC. Now, the question that I lead to you is that, do you think God will punish South Africa because they've reported Israel in the ICC? Do you think so? Now you can tell me your comments. What do you think about that? Now, according to the prophecies of Hubert Angel, he said now South Africa will be punished. Rather, he quoted a verse that says, "Whoever that curses Israel." Now the question is, did South Africa curse Israel? No, South Africa never cursed Israel. Now, why is he attaching that letter to South Africa, saying that whoever that curses Israel will be cursed? Did South Africa curse Israel? South Africa never cursed Israel. There was not a time where the South African parliament was not cursing Israel. Rather, let me show you something. In the GNU, there is a rabbi uh, who was praying for the president in that event in the Union building. You know why? Because South Africa has a lot of Jewish people in South Africa. You go to Pretoria and then you go to the churches of the Jewish people. You start to realize that Jewish people are one of the South Africans that are staying in this country. Yes, they are normally associated with the white people, but Jewish people are not white. They are just Jewish people. You understand? Now, what you understand, you have to understand is that in South Africa there are a lot of Jewish people. Now, according to the prophecies of Hubert Angel, when he says, "Now whoever that curse Israel will be cursed," does that mean that God will curse Israel? I find myself now not agreeing with that. Not that I'm a South African citizen, but I find that what I'm saying is that I don't agree with whatever that is said, because I also understand that Hubert Angel has got a vendetta with South Africa. What do I mean? I'm going to show you something. If you remember, Shebed Bushiri was the son of Hubert Angel. If you remember very, very well, there was a prophet called Cobus van Rensburg. Now, Cobus van Rensburg once invited Hubert Angel, and then he did what we call miracle money. Rather, he was just praying, and people, according to what we are watching, money was just growing in the pockets of people or in their accounts. Now, the South African government was not happy about that. As a country, we know that the finance of the country are supposed to be counted and be regulated. They were not happy. Now, let me go to Shebed Bushiri. We know what happened with Shebed Bushiri in South Africa. One of the prophets that was staying in South Africa. South Africa have arrested him and taken some of his properties. Now, him being the son of Hubert Angel, obviously that will not make Hubert Angel to be happy. And now, when he says God will curse South Africa, does that mean that is God speaking, or is it because Hubert Angel is not happy because they've changed his spiritual son in South Africa? We need to work that one out. You can work it for yourself. That's up to you. But I'm trying to show you something. Is Hubert Angel angry that South Africa has changed Shebed Bushiri? Or is it because it's God who spoke to him saying that whoever that curse Israel will, God will curse. Does that mean that God of heaven is cursing South Africa? Let me show you something. Now, if God curse South Africa, does that mean that God curse only black people? Or he curse everyone who stays in South Africa? Because Jewish people are part of South Africans. White people are part of South Africans. Colored people are part of South Africans. Christianity, there are a lot of Christian churches in South Africa if you don't know. Many pastors here in South Africa, a lot of them prophets, count them however you can count them. Many, every Sunday there are many Christian churches that pray to God, the same God that you better angel says is going to curse South Africa. Does that mean God is going to curse everyone who is in South Africa, or he's going to curse us as a nation because we are the citizens of this country? Or those Christians and those Jewish people and those whoever Hindus and whatsoever, they are the citizens of this country. Does that mean, according to what Hubert Angel is saying that he will curse that nation, does that mean that God will curse South Africa? That's a big question that I'm posing to you today. You can answer that in the comments and tell me what you think about that. That's up to you. Or does that mean that Uber Angel is angry simply because they chased Uber Angel? They arrested him. I mean, Sheber Bushiri. They arrested him and confiscated all the properties because they believe that he was robbing people. That's up to you to answer. Now you can tell us in the comment what you think, and also don't forget to subscribe down there. Now you can answer that for yourself, and now you can yes. I've been listening to Uber Angel for years, but where I find myself differing with him, that's when he start to attach the letter of cursing South Africa, saying that God will curse South Africa because of Israel. Now South Africa doesn't consist only of black people; it consists of everyone. Now let me go back, and that is up to you for you to answer between Uber Angel and his prophecies in South Africa. Is South Africa a cursed nation? Are we as South African living in a cursed nation? Now he's forgetting something. Let me connect Christianity with the Jewish and also the South Africans. Now in South Africa, we've got a lot of Christians, a lot of them. Matter of fact, let me tell you something. About more than 50% are Christians here in South Africa. More than 50% are Christians here in South Africa. Now, do you think God will curse his own children? Will God curse himself? Now, Hubert Angel is working on the fact of the Jewish people, that if South Africa has reported the Jewish people or the Israelites in the ICC, then God will curse South Africa. I think he's quoting one of the verses in the Old Testament. Now, Jesus, when you go into the New Testament, which is the blood of Jesus, the blood of Jesus is the New Testament. And there is a verse that says, cursed is he who hangs on the tree. Cursed is he who hangs on the tree. Now, who hangs on the tree? Is it Jesus, who was born in the Jewish nation, that the Christians in South Africa believe in Jesus? Is Christians are not Jewish people, or Christians are not, they don't believe in Judaism. They believe in the word of God, which is the Bible. Now, Jesus didn't die only for the Jewish people, he died for everyone, including the very same South Africans that Hubert Angel is saying they are cursed. Now, when we go into the scriptures, he's clashing with the scriptures, because if Jesus says, "Whoever believes me, his curses is upon me," what do I mean by that? I'm talking about the verse that says, "Cursed is he who hangs on the tree." It is Jesus who hangs on the cross, meaning that all the curses, or all the curses that they are announcing that saying South Africa is cursed, all the curses are on the cross of Jesus. Not because we are South Africa has reported these Israelites or the Jewish people to the ICC, International Criminal Court. Now South Africa is cursed. No, South Africa is fighting for the rights of the Palestinians, because at the end of the day, either they believe in God or they don't believe in God. In Christianity, we can't condemn them or because they don't believe in God. No, we can't just kill them or now bomb them because now they believe in God. We as South Africans, we are from apartheid. We have that scar of being segregated. We understand that. We understand what they are going through. I believe that's what South Africa is understood. I mean, misunderstood on. And now, God cannot curse South Africa simply because they reported Israel. Let me tell you the truth. Do you know that the Jewish people, they don't believe in Jesus? Or rather, they don't acknowledge him as the coming savior that is written in their law. Now, Hubert Angel comes, he quotes the law of the Jewish people, says South Africa is cursed. Now, Jesus says, no, cursed is me on the cross. Cursed is he who hangs on the tree. Because Jesus is the one that carries the curse of everyone. Hubert Angel cannot say, because I'm the prophet, now God says, I'm going to curse South Africa. South Africa is not cursed. Let me tell you, South Africa has played a very important role of saving the Jewish people who were running from Germany from Hitler. And God cannot come and curse South Africa simply because they reported. They just want to show the world that now they sympathize with the people of Gaza, or that they are standing in solidarity with them. And God cannot curse them simply because of that. No, because South Africa has never cursed Israel. They're just demanding that the Palestinians are human beings too. They deserve to live either as refugees, but they deserve to live. Now, the Jewish people cannot now destroy the Gaza people, the Palestinian people, because of Hamas. Let them deal with Hamas and leave the civilians alone. That's what South Africans are saying. That's why they reported the Jewish people. And now Hubert Angel cannot say God has cursed South Africa because of that. What type of prophet is this one now? Because South Africans believe in Jesus. There are many Christians here in South Africa. I was listening to Reverend Frank Chikana, and he was showing us all of these things concerning America. Yes, we understand that America stand with Israel. We have stood with the Jewish people for a very long time. We have stood with the Israelites for a very long time, and we have supported them by opening up the doors of South Africa. We have opened up the door of South Africa. We welcome them in the state here. We have a lot of Jewish people here in South Africa, and now they are free. They are enjoying the democracy of the land. Now, what we are saying is that now the civilians that are in Gaza, or the Palestinians that are in Gaza, they also deserve to be respected as human beings. Either they believe in Allah, either they believe in Prophet Muhammad, but that is their choice. How can they repent one of the day and receive Jesus Christ, or become Christians, or whatsoever religion? Or maybe one day they will believe in the God of Israel if they don't kill their civilians or their children. Now, I wanted to weigh on that and on the relation of South Africa and Israel, and also to weigh in a little bit on the prophecy of Hubert Angel, who believe that South Africa is now a cursed land. South Africa is not a cursed land. South Africans believe in Jesus. There are a lot of Christians in this country. They cannot be cursed simply because it is said by Hubert Angel. Rather, South Africa is better than Zim, where you come from. South Africa is better than Zimbabwe, where you come from. Maybe Zimbabwe is a cursed land, but South Africa is not a cursed land. God of heaven cannot curse South Africa because of that, because Jesus is in this country. Rather, if he comes here, we used to invite him a lot. South African pastors invited him a lot here. Bushiri used to operate here in this country and was preaching here. Even him, Hubert Angel, he used to preach here a lot. Is he angry because he's no longer allowed in this country? And now, because he's no longer allowed, or is no longer welcome because of what they've done, does that mean that God will curse South Africa because of that? No, God will not do that. Because no, God cannot curse us simply because of that. We're just demanding the rights of the Palestinian people. Which God is he talking about, saying that South Africa is a cursed land? Whoever that curses Israel. Did we curse Israel? South Africa never cursed Israel. We're just demanding that they should respect the rights of the civilians, people of Gaza, the Palestinians. That's what we are saying. We are not cursing Israel. That's what we are demanding. Even us as Christians, I'm a Christian believer myself, but this is what I believe. I believe that as a nation we are not cursed. No, there is God in this country, and He's still working. Matter of fact, He must know that God is working every Sunday. He's working all the time. He's delivering His people. He's doing great things, and we are not a cursed land. We will continue to stand as people who believe in Jesus, and we don't believe in Jesus because maybe we think he was white or what. No, we believe in Jesus because we believe he's a child of God sent to the world to come and wash the sins of the world. Either you are black, you are Indian, you are white, you are Palestinian, you are Chinese. Jesus came to save everyone, not only the people of Israel. If you check in the Bible, who crucified Jesus is the same Jewish people who did that. Jesus was not crucified by any other nation. He was crucified by the same Jewish people. They know what I'm talking about. If you check when you read in the Bible and you try to check what happened, you start to hear a guy called Pilate saying, "No, I don't find any guilt in this man," referring to Jesus. He was talking to the Jewish people. He was talking to the Jewish people. He's saying, "No, I don't find any guilty in this man," referring to Jesus. So because they tried to check what is it wrong that Jesus has done, and they found that no, Jesus is just an innocent man. And indeed, Jesus was innocent. And who said crucify him? It was the very same Jewish people who shouted crucify him. Now, we cannot allow Hubert Angel to stand and say South Africa is cursed because there is Christians in this country, there is Jesus in this country. And Jesus is here in South Africa. It is the same Jewish people.
Because the way they are so evil, they even crucified Jesus on the cross because of ignorance, and they don't even recognize him as the child of God or the Son of God that was sent according to their prophecies in the Old Testament, because their prophecies is fulfilled by Jesus. All their laws from the Genesis to Malachi is fulfilled by the very same Jesus whom the God crucified, the very same Jesus whom Christians here in South Africa believes in. That's why Judaism, Christianity is not the same and will never be the same. And it doesn't mean that South Africans hate Jewish people. We will never hate Jewish people. We're just saying they should respect the rights of their neighbors. That's what we are saying. And then we understand now that their children were taken. And we are saying to Hamas, return the children of Israel to Israel, because we've seen that they also released your children. So release those hostages and take them home. That's what we are saying. We are saying, let us respect the right of each other. Let us respect each other. Let us fight for each other. Let us not kill each other, because we cannot allow the Jewish people to kill the Palestinians. That is not proper. And according to Christianity, that is not allowed, because Christianity, we preach peace. And that is what South Africa is preaching. There is a verse that says, blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be called the children of God. If South Africa is a peacemaker, South Africa is a child of God. And we cannot say we are cursed. We are not a cursed land. No, we are not a cursed land. Now, if South African is negotiating for peace, and also demanding that now Israel should respect the rights of the Palestinian civilians, then South Africa is preaching peace, because Jesus is saying he is the Prince of Peace. We are preaching peace, because the kingdom of God is about peace. It's not about warmongering. If you listen to our Cyril Ramaphosa, our president, he said we are not a warmongering country. Either you hate us, you like us, you don't like us. Let us tell you the truth. We are not a cursed land, and there is God in this country. Now, I was just reviewing the relationship between Israel and South Africa. Yes, right now it is going on a rough terrain, but these guys, they will be able to find commonality, or they will be able to have a dialogue and find agreement on certain things, because we have a lot of Jewish people staying in South Africa, and we are not a cursed land. And we will do anything on bilateral relations. We are very diplomatic. We will do anything possible to make sure that we are not in disagreement with any country, because we are not whoremongers. That's not who we are. Don't mistake any South African black people or whosoever, because South African doesn't just consist of black people. It consists of blacks, Indians, colored, white. Call them whatever you want to call them, but they are here. Even our African brothers are here. Our neighbors are here. Our neighbors from the very same Zimbabwe that you better come from, they are here enjoying the democracy in this country. The Mozambicans are here. The the Botswana people and other nations, the Lesotho people, the Swaziland people, and many lot of people from different kind of countries, your Ghana, your Nigeria, and Ethiopia. Matter of fact, they're enjoying the land of South Africa. And now that's who we are. We open up for our fellow brothers, because we don't hate them. That's why we open up a door, just like what we did in 1933. We opened up a way for the immigrants coming from Germany to come and settle here as immigrants. Matter of fact, they're no longer immigrants. They are the citizens of this country. Now they cannot say we hate Israel, now we are cursed. You better, Angel, review your prophecies and ask God if indeed we are cursed. We are not cursed. We have Jesus in this country, and we live in this country, and it's so blessed. It is food, it is a lot of things that we have. God has blessed us in this country. I'm a Christian, but the fact that you are saying God has cursed South Africa because of Israel, I don't agree with that line. Because now cursed is he who hangs on the cross, which is Jesus Christ, whom the Jewish people has crucified. Stephanie told them that they crucified Jesus and they stoned him. That how hard headed is these Jewish people. Stephanie told them in their eyes, and they did what? They stoned him, because that is what their law in the Old Testament demand. They stoned him, saying that he's blaspheming God. He should be stoned, and he became the first martyr of the Bible. Who stoned Stephanie? It's them, the very same Jewish nation. If you read the Bible in the New Testament, it is them who stoned Stephanie. One day they wanted to stone the very same Jesus, and they just got out of them and disappeared. Now they cannot say we are cursed because now we reported the Jewish people or the Israelites at the ICC. I don't agree with that line. God is in every land. Jesus is in everyone who believes in him, who trusts him. Jesus dwells in every man who believes in him. That's why John 3:16 will tell you, for God so loved the world, not only the Israelites. John 3:16 says, for God so loved the world. Do you understand what is the world? For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son. That is Jesus. We are not a cursed land. This Jesus carries our curse on the cross. That he gave his only begotten son, Jesus. That whosoever, listen to this line, whosoever, black, white, yellow, green, Zimbabweans, Ghanaian, South African, Israelite, whatever, Chinese, whosoever, any race, any color, whosoever believe in Jesus shall not die but have an everlasting life. So you cannot tell us we are cursed. We have Jesus in us, we have an everlasting life. Where does curse come in? Because Jesus carries our curse. I don't agree with Hubert Angel. If he's indeed claiming to be a prophet, he must review that line of saying South Africa is cursed. South Africa is not a cursed land simply because they reported ICC. We will stand with anyone whose rights are abused. We will stand with anyone whose children are killed because we understand we have a scar of apartheid. We understand that you might not like me for saying what I said, but it doesn't matter. I'm not that important. You might not agree with me and have your own views. That's fine. You are allowed to have your own views. But we are not a cursed land. South Africa is not a cursed land. Rather, is a blessed nation. Okay, guys, we'll see each other on the next episode. And make sure that you subscribe so that we continue to create more content. Okay, guys, stay blessed and stay well. You are not cursed, but you are a blessed land.